Hey guys! So it is your lady friend Bonnie, and I am back with another lyrical breakdown for you. I hope you are excited. I am. So I just wanted to get rid of the housekeeping stuff. So we are doing the grind to 1,000 subscribers, and if we get there before February 20th, then we will be giving away extra prizes. So the prizes that we're giving away are a $100 gift card to Amazon. Second place is a $50 gift card to Amazon. And third place is a $25 gift card. And if we make it by February 20th or before February 20th, we're going to have 2 extra $25 gift card Amazon money giveaways. So all you have to do to be registered to win is like any of our videos that we have featured on the channel. You post a comment about any videos, and the more you do it, the more you're entered. So just something that's like related to the video that you watched, and you have to be subscribed, and that's it. That's all we got, folks. So we're pushing through. We're making a lot more videos. We're really grinding. So we hope that you guys like it, and we want to give back to you guys as well. So on to the show. So we're doing this week Dance with the Devil, Immortal Techniques. This is a new song. This is requested from the last one. It's an interesting song. This is the first time I'd ever listened to it, and I've listened to it a lot now, having done this review and done the breakdown and everything, and going through everything. So it's a long song. It's actually 9 minutes 39 seconds, but I'm only doing the about 6 minutes 47 seconds, and that's where I'm stopping, because it's sort of like an extra bonus hidden track, I guess, that plays after the song. I think it's called Diabolical. And then that's sort of like the hidden song, like within this song, that plays after. So I'm only doing, if you are following with me on Spotify or anywhere, it's only about 6:47 is as far as I'm going with this song and with this breakdown. So let's do it. I'm excited. This is a very interesting song. And if you don't know it, now you're going to know. So go listen to it and listen along if you want, and follow along, and we can all learn something together.
Material objects, but he understood money never brought respect. He built a reputation.
So it starts. I once knew a blank whose real name was William. His primary concern was making $1 million. Being the illest hustler that the world ever seen, he used to fuck movie stars and sniff coke in his dreams. So, all right away, we can see that that he used to know, or he knows of the main subject of the story that he's telling. And he's sort of telling it from, I guess, an outsider's and an insider's point of view, because he's sort of involved, but he's sort of looking at it from an outside. Like, I don't know. I thought it was interesting the way that he was starting off telling the story. William just wants to make a shitload of cash, be able to floss, and get a chance at banging some rich and famous people, which I think a lot of people kind of have those sort of aspirations. So in his dreams, he's made it. Like he's up there. So it's an interesting type of dream, and kind of reflects on who he is. And he's dreaming about cocaine as well. And so obviously there's some sort of, like, this is sort of foreshadowing, I guess, because he talks about cocaine, and that cocaine is like his dream, and that's what he's striving to get. So we can just keep going. A corrupted young mind at the age of 13, Blank never had a father, and his mom was a fiend. She put the pipe down, but for every year she was sober, her son's heart simultaneously grew colder. Okay. So at this point, William is 13 years old. He's already been corrupted by the people, the world around him. He never had a father figure. So right away, we kind of learn that maybe he wasn't around, or he left, or he died. Who knows? And his mother was a drug addict. And I'm assuming crack, because they talk about a pipe. And it's also pretty common in a lot of the hood, I guess. And a lot of rappers rap about people who are on crack. And I'm guessing it wasn't that. And I'm guessing that it wasn't good when she was sober, because, and then, she's now having to realize and deal with all of like probably the issues and the real shit that she was covering up with the drugs. So she's clearly has some issues that she needs to take care of. And she probably had them and was dealing with them before and after being on the drugs. And I think that probably made him angry, like being in that sort of a situation. So he obviously holds some sort of like resentment towards her. She probably wasn't around when he was needed. And she's probably trying to be better now that she's stopped smoking. But he's already a teen and it's kind of too late. Like, yeah, a lot of the damage has been done. So right away, we know that William doesn't have any good role models, and drugs come along with all of that. And living with a drug addict, I guess this is just like his story. He started hanging out, selling bags in the projects, checking the young chicks, looking for hit and run prospects. He was fascinated by material objects, but he never understood. But he understood money never bought respect. So you can't buy respect. It has to be earned, and he knows that. So even as a young teen, this kid started selling drugs in the project. He probably knew about drugs, having grown up around them, so he probably knows people. He knows that people he probably knows other people that are addicted, and he knows that they need it. And he knows he can make and he knows that he can make a lot of money quickly by selling drugs. Plus his childhood was like pretty full of drugs because of his mother, and probably knows drug dealers. So he probably has some connections. And we see the result or the consequence of his childhood influences. He's looking around for younger ladies who he's trying to have some quick sex with, no strings attached. And he's only young, so this is interesting that he's doing that already. And it's also interesting the role that women play, even at a young age, probably. If he's sleeping with these young girls who are kind of like hit it and quit it kind of girls. So it goes to show that. He's looking for, he loves material things, so I guess that's why he's trying to make a lot of cash. And just because someone has money doesn't mean that they're respected. Fact. Seems like he's just trying to make his influence known, and that he wants to gain a reputation that requires being respected, I guess. Okay, so the next verse is he built a reputation because he could hustle and steal, but got locked once and didn't hesitate to squeal. So criminals he chilled with didn't think he was real. You see, me and blank like this have never been equal. Interesting. So it's sort of a comparison from like his point of view, the person who's telling the story, and what he's seeing that William went through. So William, he was known in the hood because he was working hard and he was doing smaller crimes, I guess. He got caught once and was sent to jail or maybe juvie since he's young. He's obviously scared to be in there and was a snitch, and they probably gave him a lighter sentence because of that. And he probably was scared. He probably didn't want to be in there. It was his first time, and it's tough. So yeah, he snitched, so all of the badasses and thugs that he's hanging around with doubted him and his image that he's trying to give off. Snitching is serious, and proves to people what kind of person you are. So it goes to show that he's maybe not the most trustworthy, but he's also just a human being trying, being a kid. He doesn't want to be in jail or juvie or anything. So he'd rather snitch someone out. And so I think that shows right away that William actually has a bit of a weakness, and he isn't such a tough guy like he pretends to be. So I think we get that right away, that he's as much as he talks and walks the walk, he's still he's fumbling. So he says, I don't project my insecurities on other people. He fiended for props like addicts with pipes and needles. So he felt he had to prove to everyone he was evil, a feeble-minded young man with infinite potential. So maybe William was more insecure than he thought. Immortal Technique must have seen his behavior, because he does say that he knew him. Must have seen his behavior and saw that it kind of stemmed from his own issues. So he kept trying so hard to be cool and trying to prove to other people that he was cool with like material objects. So maybe some weapons or money. I don't know. He's just trying to get that justification from other people that he desired, and he was up to no good. And others around took advantage of his weakness for wanting to fit in and appear hard, but he didn't see it. So people took advantage of the fact that he wanted to fit in and he wanted to be one of the cool guys so badly. And I think that they kind of knew that, right? All right, so the next line is, the product of a ghetto-bred capitalist mental, coincidentally dropped out of school to sell weed, dancing with the devil, smoked until his eyes would bleed, but he was sick of selling trees and gave in to his greed. So this is the result of what happens in the ghetto and the desire for stuff to seem cool. You just want to be so cool, right? It's embedded into his brain that he needs to have money to be cool. He cared so much about money that he dropped out of school to sell drugs. And he's not using his money to help his mom out or anything like that. He's using it for his own personal gain. So it's a risky thing to do, especially considering that William doesn't seem to be that smart and isn't really making smart moves. So maybe dropping out of school is not the smartest move. He probably should have stayed in school. Stay in school, kids, at least until high school, right? He's being tempted with something that's evil. And he's smoking so much weed, so at least it's not crack, that his eyes bled. And I think that we see, a lot of the time, we see like religious statues and their eyes are bleeding, or there's like something that's, so sad. And it's usually like a religious thing. And so it kind of stems back to that. That's what it made me think of, at least. He got sick of selling weed and wanted something more that could make him richer and cooler. So he wanted to try to impress people. So this is sort of where things start escalating. And then we have the hook. So let's play that now.
Trying to be trife, never face the consequences. You probably only did a month for minor offenses.
So here's the hook. Everyone trying to be trife, never face the consequences. You probably only did a month for minor offenses. Ask a blank doing life if he had another chance, but then again, there's always the wicked that knew in advance. Dance forever with the devil on a cold cell block. But that's usually what happens when you rape, murder, and sell rock. Devils used to be gods, angels that fell from the top. There's no diversity because we're burning in the melting pot. So that's interesting. It already says a lot in the hook, I find. So he's just saying that those who try to fake being tough never really get in trouble. It's just fake, right? So not that they don't get in trouble, but they're comparatively smaller crimes, probably. Probably only had to go to jail for a relatively short time for a small crime, which is exactly what we saw from William. Compare yourself to those in jail for life. Obviously, this is who William idolizes and wants to be like, but it's such a dumb thing to aspire to be. Like he's just dreaming of, going, I guess, he doesn't realize he's doing all these bad things in his dreams and, what he aspires to be. And then he's not thinking about the consequences. They knew better, but things got out of hand, obviously. So that's the people who knew that they were getting into it when they were doing the crimes. So dancing with the devil, all his evils, and it's for life. This is what's happening. You're stuck for life with the devil if you start doing this kind of stuff. And it's a cold jail. He talks about doing the big worst types of crimes will cause you to end up in jail for life. And it's sort of a warning. These are the three, if you do these things, you're going to end up in jail and it's going to be forever. So think about it. All of these evils are inside us, but we were once innocent angels that fell. And I thought that was kind of nice, that life, but it does show that life corrupts you and you can fall into the trap of the devil. So just be careful. No matter who you are. Yeah. And I think that also we see that the more that we hear the hook twice, and I think the more that we do hear it, we kind of get, again, more foreshadowing. So this is like an interesting story that is being told. So let's go on with verse 2. Okay, so Billy started robbing blanks anything he could do to get his respect back in the eyes of his crew, starting fights over little shit up on the block, stepping up to sell mothers and brothers the crack rock. So here, now that we're in verse 2, there's a second part, and he's now Billy. So he's changed. He's not William anymore. So he's robbing people to try to get trust and status in the gang, and he's trying to like prove to others that he's beating up other people for nothing, just again to have the status in the crew. And he started selling crack, which will probably only destroy others like himself. And he talks about selling to mothers and brothers. So he's selling to mothers like his own, and brothers probably, other black people that are around him or that are susceptible to this kind of stuff. I don't know. So, all right. Working overtime for making money for the crack spot, hit the jackpot and wanted to move up to cocaine. Fulfilling the Scarface fantasy stuck in his brain, tired of the block blanks treating him the same. So he's working hard selling crack. He makes a lot of money, but now he wants to move up into cocaine. He's living like the gangsters that he sees in movies. But I mean, I think in the movies we think, they do end up in jail or dead. So I think he's forgetting that side of what happens to like these big famous, he talks about Scarface. And I guess he was involved in, I haven't actually seen Scarface, so my bad. So I'm guessing he was involved in cocaine and, guns and trouble. So I think he's just trying to be like, this is my moment. He's sick of people underestimating him. He wants to get like respect, and he wants to get like the same sort of respect that other like big like hustlers and people in the hood have. So, okay. So he wants to be, that's exactly it. So he wanted to be, this is the next line. He wanted to be like the major cutthroats and the thugs, but when he tried to step to him, Blank showed him no love. They told him that any motherfucking coward can sell drugs. Any bitch blank with a gun can bust slugs. Any blank with a red shirt can front like a blood. Even Puffy smoked a motherfucker up in the club. So he wants to move up in the thug ranks, but nobody liked him or wanted to bother with him since he had snitched and, probably got someone that they know in trouble. So they're trying to make him prove himself and his loyalty. So the thugs that look up to, I guess the thugs that he looks up to are, we're telling him, oh, anybody can sell drugs and anybody can shoot somebody and anyone can pretend that they're hard and they're in a gang. And I think even Puffy, I'm guessing that that's supposed to be Puff Daddy, even killed someone in a club and almost calling him out for like not being that hard. So that's interesting. I didn't look that up and to see if Puffy actually did kill someone, but maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe that's why he changes his name so much. Anyways, so the next lyric is, but only a real thug can stab someone till they die, standing in front of them, staring straight into their eyes. Billy realized that these men were well guarded, and they wanted to test him before business started, suggesting raping a bitch to prove he was cold-hearted. So they tell Billy that only like real thugs can stab a person and watch them die. It really takes like someone like cold-hearted. I'm like, I don't really know why you would want to be like that. And it's, it definitely takes a strong person or a tough person or something like to be able to physically do that, to be able to stab someone. And they want to make sure that he's he really is a tough guy, sort of like an initiation. And they're going to make him rape someone. And as much as it sucks, it seems like this is his chance to, for him to have like a big shot and have all his dreams come true. And he wants to sell cocaine, but he has to prove it himself first before they can let him do that. So now he had a choice between going back to his life or making money with made men up in the Sife. His dreams about cars and ice made him agree a hardcore blank is all he ever wanted to be. And so he met them Friday night at 2:45. So this is sort of like, this is where shit starts happening. So at this point of the tale, he has to make a decision about as to whether or not he wants to move forward, and he wants to be in the gang and doing this outrageous crime. And he thinks about everything that he wants to do, and he agrees to do it. He wants to be a real gangster. That's like his whole goal in this song. So he meets the crew on Friday night, right before 3. They probably, yeah, so they probably would be partying and doing stuff and, planning out this whole thing, this whole adventure that takes place. So it is pretty gross that they're going to be doing this. And again, right after we hear the hook again. So, again, like that sums up that section. And this is the next section. And this is where like everything comes to fruition. Verse 3 starts with, they drove around the projects slow while it was raining, smoking blunts, drinking, and joking for entertaining, until they saw a woman on the street walking alone, 3 a.m, coming back from work on her way home. So they quietly got out of their car and followed her. Walking through the projects, the darkness swallowed her. They wrapped her shirt around her head and knocked her onto the floor. So here we are. It's Friday night with the crew. Driving around. It's, slowly. They're stalking someone, right? They're looking, when it's raining. And they're usually, they're just sort of involved in the usual Friday night debauchery of like having fun with the boys and drinking and doing whatever. And then they find someone, and she's coming back from work and she's walking alone. It's 3:00 a.m. If she's coming back from work, like she was working late. And this is where they decide to follow her, and they pick her. And it makes it sound like the projects also aren't all that well lit, and that there's darkness all around her, and that almost kind of like the devil hides in the shadows, right? So they cover her face with her shirt and trip her to the floor. Yep. All right. This is it, kid. Now you've got your chance to be raw. So Billy yoked her up and grabbed the chick by her hair and dragged her into a lobby that had nobody there. She struggled hard, but they forced her to go up the stairs. They got to the roof and then held her down on the ground, screaming, "Shut the fuck up and stop moving around." So, probably the main tough guy said this is your chance to Billy. So, he's kind of like, this is it. We've got it all prepared. It's all lined up. We've got this woman for you. Are you going to do it or not? Kind of. Yeah, they got her here. So now he has to do the rest. So he brings her by the hair into an empty lobby of a building. She keeps fighting them, as, anybody would be. But they basically force her to go up the stairs to the roof. And once on the roof, he holds her down and basically yells at her to cooperate. So the shirt covered her face, but she screamed and clawed. So Billy stomped on the bitch until he'd broken her jaw. The dirty bastards knew exactly what they were doing. They kicked her until they cracked her ribs and she stopped moving. Blood leaking through the cloth. She cried silently, and then they all proceeded to rape her violently. Billy was made to go first, but each of them took a turn, ripping her up and choking her until her throat burned. So that's pretty horrible and interesting description. Okay, so her shirt covered her face, which is to stop her from seeing those who are doing this to her, but also kind of serves as a shield from to them, because they can't see who it is that they're doing this to. This is just, for them, this is just a walking hole, basically. So she's screaming and scratching. Billy stomps on her face to make her stop screaming. They've got this plan and they're going to do it. All the gang members kind of start kicking her until she stops moving. She's bleeding through her shirt. Billy's made to rape her first, and then after him, they all took turns raping her violently, roughly. So they obviously were forcing her and hurting her more. And like, they were saying her throat was sore. So I think that, they were all doing it in all the holes, and it was just awful, really. Yeah. So, and like rape just seems worse when there's not that, there's ever a good time for rape. There really, really, really isn't. But it just seems worse when there's more men involved. And it's less intimate and more just for show at this point. Like they're all just kind of like, yeah, let's do it. Like it's not like a fun thing. Like they're just being really mean about the whole situation. And so obviously these guys aren't, they're flawed too. Like they aren't the best people if they're able to do this. But again, it's sort of like the pressure of like the group situation. All right. Her broken jaw mumbled for God, but they weren't concerned. When they were done and she was lying, bloody, broken, and bruised, one of them blanks pulled out a brand new 22. They told him that she was a witness of what she had gone through, and if he killed her, he was guaranteed a spot in the crew. He thought about it for a minute. She was practically dead, and so he leaned over and put the gun right to her head. So at this point, she's still alive and conscious. She's asking for God, but what she gets is the devil and his evils, basically. And like these guys just don't care about this woman. She's just lying there in an awful mess. One of the guys pulls out a new gun and tells Billy that she's a witness, and if he killed her, because they don't want to get caught, he'll be in the gang. He thinks about it, so he obviously takes the time to think about it, I guess, and then sees what, well, she's basically dead, it's better to just kill her, so he goes to do it. So he points the gun at her head. And then there's sort of just like this 2-line verse that repeats. It's, I'm falling and I can't turn back. I'm falling and I can't turn back. And this is sort of like, this is it, like he can't turn back, right? Once he's done this, like it's real. So this is basically his fall into the devil's hands. He's already done the evil deeds. He's feeling the peer pressure, and he's using gang logic to make his decisions. He's not realizing what he's done and who he's done this to. And this is kind of where he stops being like an innocent man and sort of becomes, or an innocent kid, and becomes like an evil man. And he's changed. He can't fall. He's falling and he can't turn back. So he can't go back now. Like this is it. This is what he wants. This is what he's got to do. And it sucks. So, verse 4. Okay. So right before he pulled the trigger and ended her life, he thought about the cocaine with the platinum and ice. He felt strong standing along with his new brothers, cocked the gat to her head, and pulled back the shirt cover. But what he saw made him start to cringe and stutter, because he realized he was staring into the eyes of his own mother. Yep. So, yeah, he's about to kill her, and then he thinks that he thinks about how he's going to make so much money selling cocaine, and how much money he's going to make with all, and all the bling that'll come to him, and how, all these great material things are going to happen. And he feels cool and he's strong, and he's hanging out with all these other thugs. And he feels, support because of them. This is a good thing that he's doing, and he's, going forward. And he thinks he's going to have a better life. So he's about to shoot her, and he decides to pull back the shirt that's over her face. I guess he's going to kill her, so it doesn't really matter at this point if she sees him and who's done this to her. And who's about to kill her, I guess. And then he realizes that it's his own mother that he's done this to. And he's shocked and ashamed, I guess, kind of at this point. Like, he's at a loss for words. He doesn't know what to do. He's kind of like, shit. I don't have any other words. Yeah. So she looked back at him and cried because he had forsaken her. She cried more painfully than when they were raping her. His whole world stopped. He couldn't even contemplate. His corruption had successfully changed his fate. And he remembered how his mom used to come home late, working hard for nothing, because now what was he worth? Yep. So she looks at him and cries. She cries worse than when they were raping her because she didn't know and he didn't know. And like right now, like she's just heartbroken and destroyed by him. And he'd obviously kind of forgotten about her and stopped caring about her so much. And now look what happened. So everything stopped and he's in shock. And all he can think about is how everything he thought was so hard and so cool led him to this moment of raping his own mother and almost killing her. He's about to do it, right? So, and he remembers when his mom used to come home late because he worked so hard for him. But he's like, it wasn't worth it because he's obviously not worth anything at this moment. All right, so next line. He turned away from the woman that had once given him birth and crying out to the sky because he was lonely and scared, but only the devil responded because God wasn't there. And right then he knew what it had to be, what it was to. He turned away from the woman that had once given him birth and crying out to the sky because he was lonely and scared, but only the devil responded because God wasn't there. And right then he knew what it was to be empty and cold, and so he jumped off of the roof and died with no soul. And they say death takes you to a better place, but I doubt it. After that, they killed his mother and never spoke about it. So Billy, at this point, he can't even look at his mother. He cries out because he's lonely and scared. He's just like a little kid, he reverts right back into that, where he wants his mommy. And, it just sucks. And, there's no answer from God. And he only hears the devil and all of the terrible things that he's done. And he's realizing like what he's done. And he doesn't actually feel that, everything that he was, striving for and everything was worth it. It's just not. So he jumps off the roof and died with no soul. He's not going to heaven. He realizes that. And in that moment, he might as well just be dead because he's done such a horrible thing. And he kills himself, basically, right? The gang kills her after all of that and just never talk about it. And that's just what it's like. They just move on. And they probably cover up this whole situation with drugs and alcohol, like for themselves. And so it only makes things in the ghetto worse. If they're, they too are also having to deal with like this kind of shit that's going on and the things that they've done. And like, so yeah, they're probably going to end up on drugs and stuff because they're trying to hide this memory. Yeah. And so Billy was weak and this was his downfall basically. And I was just wondering if like the gang had actually like chosen her like on purpose or if it was just like coincidence. Like, I don't know if they did this specifically to kind of like fuck him like over, I guess. Yeah, maybe that's just my perception. I don't know. Let me know what you think. And listen, because the story that I'm telling is true. Because I was there with Billy Jacobs and I raped his mom too. And now the devil follows me everywhere that I go. In fact, I'm sure he's standing among one of you at my shows. And every street cipher listening to Little Thugs Flow, he could be standing right next to you and you wouldn't know. Listen to this story, is what he's saying. It's a true story, and Immortal Technique was there. He was one of the gang members who knew Billy. He talks about him, a first-hand story about him, and that he was involved in raping his mother as well. So, and probably killing her in some way. He's there. He's a bystander. And because of that, he feels the presence of evil. And so, like, that's what he's saying and singing about in this song, that he's even, he's going to deal with this until he dies, basically, like, having done this. And, like, the pain and, like, I guess, when Billy jumped off the roof and stuff like that, like, you're going to remember that. So, yeah, and I think that the devil is watching him at his shows, and the devil's all around in, like, the hood. And, he's right next to you, and you might not even know it. And it's just, there's just evil everywhere. And it's just, I think he's just trying to say, like, try not to fall for it. But at this point, the devil's following him. He's just waiting. He's a patient man, that devil. Okay, so the final set of lyrics. The devil grows inside the hearts of the selfish and wicked. White, brown, yellow, and black color is not restricted. You have a self-destructive destiny when you get inflicted, and you'll be one of God's children that fell from the top. There's no diversity because we're burning in the melting pot. So when the devil wants to dance with you, you better say never, because a dance with the devil might last you forever. Yep. So the devil eats away at your selfish and wicked hearts, and it happens to everyone, and it doesn't matter who. If you want to follow his directions, you'll end up destroying yourself, and you'll lose your innocence, and you'll lose God, basically. They're all burnt in the devil's pot, so it doesn't matter how you started. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. You're all going to end up the same. Just charcoal, basically. And so it's sort of like a warning, like this whole song is a warning that if you get tempted by something and you know it's evil and wrong, you better say no, because if not, like, the troubles and the devil will haunt you forever. And so this is a warning to, like, the next generation. He doesn't want there to be another Billy. He doesn't want there to have to, like, even he's suffering, and he's, so I guess he's kind of understanding why Billy jumped off the roof and killed himself when he realized what he had done. Like, there wasn't anywhere else for him to go. He was never going to be able to get rid of that and get over that. So yeah, I think that this is a really interesting song, and, like, it definitely, like, tells a message, and I think that it leaves a lasting impression, that's for sure. And actually, Felipe Andres Corono is, like, one of the artists who was actually, like, the rapper who was writing about this. And he actually denies having actually been involved with raping a woman. But he says this about this song. This is an actual quote of his. So I made myself more of a part of it when I wrote the song, and it eventually became an urban legend. And what's sick is that people thought it was about rape, when it was really about how we were killing ourselves and destroying the most valuable resource that the Latino/Black community has, our women. So I think he says a lot. I think that, maybe he wasn't involved in the rape, but he heard the story, maybe secondhand, or maybe he was there and he's saying he wasn't, but, who knows? But I think it is interesting that that's kind of like what's happening, that you're stuck in this ghetto life, and you end up just kind of destroying it as you go, and, like, you make it worse, and, your choices can change, where you're from, and, it can reflect on who you are and where you're at, and the community that you're involved in, and the people that you hang out with. And I think that what he's saying is that, like, we need to protect these women. Like, this shouldn't be happening. There shouldn't be, like, group rapes of women, and it's just, it's just awful, and it's destroying them. And, like, the women who are on the drugs, probably because something like this has happened to them, and then the culture just keeps going, and the next generation is going to have a mother who is on crack cocaine, and, because she was covering up, like, something horrible that had happened to her with drugs. And so it just keeps happening. And so it's just trying to get out of that, like, situation and that cycle that you keep ending up in if you follow the devil, is basically what they're saying. So, I mean, I thought this was a really interesting song. It definitely leaves you with, like, a lot to think about. It's, like, hauntingly creepy, like, kind of as it goes, but it still has, like, you could actually do, like, a dance, like a, like, I don't know, some sort of professional, salsa, or I guess not salsa, I guess, but, like, something, over this song. And I guess it's kind of, like, you can kind of see, like, the devil dancing with you, like, as you're, especially over the hook, I found is the most prominent where that happens. But yeah, I thought, this is great. I mean, if there's any songs that you want me to cover, definitely leave it in the description below. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought of this. If there's anything that you took away from this that maybe I didn't. But for me, this is really what it broke it down to. I mean, if you're going to go listen to the song, go do it, reflect back, maybe come back, listen to it again, see what's going on. And yeah, it's a tough subject to cover, but I'm glad it was done. And it was done well, and definitely left a message. And it's sort of like a movie, this song, like, because you can kind of see like everything that's happening in your head as you kind of go through the whole song. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let's try to leave this on a happier note, but yeah, let me know what you think. I think I have one lined up already for the next one, but if you want to contribute, definitely, like I said, leave song title and artist in the comments below, and I will check them out, and I will get back to you, and I will see if there's anything down there that interests me. So I hope you have a great day, and take care. Love our stuff. Like this if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below, and that's it, guys. Bye.